and then you take the ring and put it on my finger. But I was like, boop, I just like grabbed the ring and put it on. I was so excited.
She was like, that ring is mine. Welcome back to Arrows, the faith-based podcast that aims to guide you through the exciting world of Christian relationships, engagement, dating, raising kids, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jeremiah.
And I'm his wife, Monica. And today we have episode 2, and we're going to talk about engagements, proposals, and the decision to wait before marriage.
Making the decision to wait before marriage is a big decision to make. We want to kind of help prepare you guys and give you some practical tools to go through that season in your life. So you found that special someone and you're thinking about taking that next step towards engagement. This is a season of anticipation and excitement, and it feels like everything is falling right into place.
Yeah, and it is very important to communicate before that about values and how you see yourself with the future with each other's partners and decisions to stay pure before marriage, and just all those conversations happen before the proposal so that you're really ready to make that commitment.
That's true. You really want to make sure you're both on the same page about a lot of different things. So there's a lot of different conversations to be had. Proverbs 18:22 says, "He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord." So you found your good thing.
And then the proposal comes.
Yeah.
Which as a girl is like the most fun because you are thinking about it, and obviously the guy's thinking about it. But it's really more than just the practicality of like, how am I going to propose and ring shopping and stuff. You really want to spend time talking in the proposal about, you know, your decisions and the commitment that you've made and the commitment that you're making to the Lord also.
Yeah, and I think you want to make it personal to each person. Like with your proposal, when I proposed, I tried to make it things that you would like and things that are lovely.
You did such a good job.
Yeah. So, and we actually got texts from your friends after, or you did, saying, "Oh, it's like your perfect proposal."
Yeah.
Because it fits you so well. And so, as I got to know you in dating, I started to realize things that you like, and how you might want to be proposed to. And so, maybe we can show some pictures right now of what that looked like. But basically, what I did was I had roses with little notes on them, and they said things that I would say to you during dating.
Yeah.
And this was help with our friends and family, me and my mom, you know, staying up late all week to make this happen. And Monica had no idea. She thought the ring was not even there yet, hadn't even been shipped.
Yeah.
But it had been, and it was burning a hole in my pocket, and I had to propose as soon as possible. So I proposed on June 3rd of 2022.
Yeah. And when did we meet?
And we met March
11th, 2022.
Yeah, was our first date. What was one exciting thing from our proposal? One, did you have any idea that proposal was coming?
I didn't, because you did throw me off with the ring. I had asked him a few times, like, do we have the ring? And he was like, no, we won't have more answers until Saturday. And I was like, at the time, like, just being a girl on social media, like, that day, I was like, oh, I'm going to do, like, a day in the life. And so I was, like, filming on stories and stuff of, like, my whole day. And a few of my friends had said, like, I think he's going to propose. I'm like, no, he's not. Yeah, like, I think this is going to be the day. Because he had asked me and gave me an option, like, do you want to go to a fancy dinner or do you want to have a picnic? And I was like, yeah, let's have a picnic. So,
and that's what I needed her to pick. I said, you want to go to dinner or have a picnic? And I had the picnic idea planned for the proposal, and she just happened to pick it. So I had a little ace up my sleeve just in case she picked the fancy dinner.
But yeah, I didn't really have any idea. I do remember your dad, when I came to your house, the day of the proposal, I came and I was dressed up and we came, and your dad was like, you know, what are you guys doing tonight? And I was like, oh, we're going on a picnic. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. And I like walked out. I was like, your dad does not like this date idea. But he had known. And I think your dad threw me off the most.
He did. Yeah. He intentionally did that, knowing that it was going to be a proposal. So he just acted like, you know, he had no idea about it. Like, oh, that's weird. Or whatever. So it really threw her off. So yeah, she just had no idea. But on the way there in the car ride, our photographer, who we love, we have a great photographer, she was messaging me saying she would be late. She was driving from like over an hour away, she said. She was trying to like Instagram message me and even call me saying, I'll be late. Where are you? To make sure she wasn't late.
Yeah.
And we later found out our friends and family were there at the park where I was going to propose before we got there. And we found out our photographer got there 1 minute before we arrived. And so
before we walked up.
And we were late. We were late, but so was she. So it both worked out. We were both late. She got there 1 minute. We walked right up to her right as she got there. So.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful. What did you think when you saw our photographer there?
I remember walking up and I saw her and it was like, oh, that's cute. We went to a place that's I'm a photographer too. It's a very popular place for a photographer. So when I saw her at first, I was like, oh, okay, cool, another like a photographer. But then I realized she was taking pictures of us. That's when I was like, wait a second.
What's happening?
And shout out to Taylor because she grabbed my purse.
Yeah. She did.
Which, if you guys are planning a proposal or whatever and you have photographers, your girl has a purse. Make sure you grab that because my purse is not in like any of our photos.
You don't want a purse slung around your shoulders. You're taking some of the biggest.
But it was very fun. It was very romantic and it felt like it was he paid very much attention to what I like, and very intentional, with the proposal, and that's our story. I have friends who they did go to a restaurant and propose that way.
Lots of different ways to do it. There's no wrong way, but you want to make sure it's just special. It's a moment you'll remember for the rest of your life, whether good or bad. Some people have some, not bad stories, but it's just kind of like like I saw, the Jason Kelsey and his wife, he basically was walking out to the truck and was like, I know there's probably a more romantic way to do this, but will you marry me? And she knew that as soon as he said the word romantic, that he was going to propose because he's not romantic at all. So she just knew something was up. So that's fine. It's okay to have those simple moments, but I think the biggest thing is make it personal. What does your future wife love? What does she like? And those type of gifts make it really special.
Yeah. So I agree. So Song of Solomon 2:16 says, my beloved is mine and I am his. He browses among the lilies. And fun fact, in high school, my email was amongthelilies@hotmail.com.
Was it really?
That is how romantical I was even back then.
So you knew this verse back then?
Yeah. I think any girls watching this podcast probably knows that verse.
I do love that because it does capture the kind of whimsical feeling that you get during a proposal, and during the whole engagement process. It is really beautiful. You finally found someone that matches your big yes, and you really enjoy them and they really enjoy you. And that's why I call it a puzzle piece match, because it does feel like things are falling into place. The big picture, you can see it now, just the way you see a puzzle as you put it together, and it just kind of eases in. So those types of feelings don't last forever. That's kind of a mountaintop moment, and so your whole marriage isn't going to be whimsical. It should be beautiful. There should be amazing moments. There will be challenging moments. So you really want to capture that moment. That's a good reason to hire a photographer or a videographer. I kind of wish we had a videographer too. But
we had
that's
random
a lot of money.
Girls in the park.
Yeah, we did. There was random girls that were, they saw my mom and our friends. Shout out to Julia for helping us out. And I mean, so many people. We got to borrow stuff from our church, little candles and props and things. But you were saying some girls in the park.
They recorded. And it's so funny because you cannot hear what Jeremiah was saying.
Yeah.
But you can hear their commentary, which is just really funny.
Yeah, I can't remember what they said.
They were just like, oh, she's so pretty. And I have seen proposals. I'm very romantic, so I've seen proposals and I know how it goes. But it's so funny because traditionally, right, you like show the ring and then you take the ring and put it on my finger. But I was like, boop, I just like grabbed the ring and put it on. I was so excited.
She was like, that ring is mine.
So the girls were like making comments about that. And it is like one of the biggest yeses. And I've told friends, we did get engaged after 3 months of knowing each other, and we had people who were a little bit nervous about it.
A little hesitant.
A little hesitant. And we were still getting to know each other, and we had both been dating, like online dating and stuff like we said for numerous years. And I remember telling a friend that I could be so confident in my yes to him because I was so confident in my no's to other people. and that goes back to like our first episode about dating, just about, the rejection and bringing prayer into your dating and stuff. But I could confidently say no to these guys for whatever reason. And it did give me more of a confidence to say yes to Jeremiah, even though, we were still very much getting to know each other and getting to know our conflict styles and,
Right.
how we handle communication and stuff like that. So.
And you were praying that God would close the door, right? That
Yes.
that the no would be a no, that the yes would be yes.
Yeah.
And so those type of prayers made you more confident for when the yes was yes, that the other doors were shut.
Yeah.
That's a really good strategy. I think that's unique. Now let's talk about the decision to wait until marriage. In the world that often promotes instant gratification, choosing to wait to have sex until your wedding day is a countercultural decision.
And first we could talk about the benefits of waiting and why we want to wait.
Why wait?
Yeah. Waiting builds a solid foundation for a physical relationship. It fosters trust, respect, and a deeper emotional connection. And it's a beautiful expression of love and commitment to honor God's design for intimacy.
Yeah, so many Christians struggle with this part. Mm-hmm. And like we said in episode 1, this will be one of the hardest things that you have to do leading up to marriage. You want to date inside community. You want to have mentors and counselors that can help you, because it will be hard. And it becomes even harder inside engagement.
Yeah.
Because now you were dating before, but now you put a ring on it and you've made a commitment. And so there's that trust there. It almost feels like you're already married because you set a wedding date. You put a ring on their finger. It feels like you're already married.
You're like, he's going to be my husband anyways. So like,
you start making excuses like, well, we can do this and that. And full disclosure, me and Monica were not successful in waiting. There was times where we made mistakes and slipped up. But I called a meeting with my pastor and let him know what was going on and said, we've slipped up and made some mistakes and we need some help. And he was really gracious. And I think we had a really good conversation about why you would wait, gave me some scriptures, told me his personal testimony with him and his wife. I mean, it brought a lot of clarity and a lot of peace, and it kind of reinvigorated me to keep going, to keep waiting. To me, I learned it's such a day-by-day basis. It's not just like we were engaged for 3 months and so we waited for 3 months. It's a battle every single day. It's a battle every single night not to give in to your fleshly desires.
Yeah.
So the scripture my pastor gave me was 1 Corinthians 6:18. It says, "Flee sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body." So sex before marriage and sex outside of marriage is a unique sin because it's a sin against your own body. Mm-hmm. What I started to learn in that season was it was as if I was stealing from my own future and just saying, Lord, I know you planned for these beautiful moments to be in the future and for a certain time, but I'm just going to take them now. Yeah. And that's really disrespectful to the Lord, and it's hurting myself in the same way that sexual immorality is a sin against your own body. You're hurting yourself with this sin. And so that's why it can be a more detrimental sin than others. It really is hurting yourself. Yeah. What did you feel during that time?
Yeah, I agree. I think keeping the vision of why we want to wait is really important, because it can be just feeling like a list of rules and, whatever, like, oh, God is like not a fun God because this is really fun, but keeping that vision of like, this is going to benefit our marriage and our relationship. And I think personally, having sex outside of marriage did kind of introduce maybe more insecurities. I remember talking to you about like, is this the only intimacy that we're like experiencing?
Right.
It can create a false intimacy. Even with guys before Jeremiah, I could have been with somebody and created a false intimacy. Yeah, a false attachment. And I'm going to feel stronger emotions with him. That it did make me not doubt, but just maybe question a little bit of like, okay, are we really, really like as sure we want to be in this marriage because we really love each other? Or is it based off of this other type of an intimacy? And there's so many different types of intimacy that we get to experience in dating, engagement, and in marriage. That I was like, if we're focusing so much on the sexual intimacy, we may be neglecting the emotional intimacy, our spiritual intimacy, and those other areas that we need to make space for.
Yeah.
And so it can add in insecurities in me or trust. Like if he can so easily have sex with me, like what about when we're not together and he has these urges? So it can introduce a lot of negative things for, something that is really beautiful in marriage.
Yeah, that's good. And I think the 3 pillars of a relationship are physical, emotional, and spiritual. It's like you're putting money in the bank. You want to be putting spiritual and emotional money in the bank before marriage, and the physical stuff will come. There could be a certain level of physical things that happen before marriage. Everybody's different. I'm totally okay with holding hands and hugging and even kissing. You just want to realize that you're igniting the fire when you do some of those things. And so you just don't want to tempt yourself even more than you already have.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem one night on the way home from Monica's apartment one night where we were successful in waiting until marriage, but it was still hard.
Fought the flesh that night.
We had to fight the flesh. So I felt like the Lord was really showing me something, so I wanted to read this. It's nights like these where you realize you're writing your testimony you'll share in the years to come. It's nights like these where you draw a line in the sand that says, I can't continue doing the same things I've done before and expect a different result. It's nights like these your fleshly fire screams so loud it quenches the spirit, and all the while God stands with you as the fire rages on. Nights like these are hard, but it's in the hard things that life builds character. If following God were easy, everyone would do it, but it's not that easily accomplished. It's nights like these. So I thought that was really cool, just to be able to. I really journaled our entire journey, which is strange because it's not something I normally do. I write down dreams and prophetic words or visions from the Lord, and I have a note in my phone just to remember all that God has done and talk to me about, kind of create a memorial for myself for what He's brought me through and what He said to me. But I'm not a journaling type, but I know journaling can be great. It just wasn't something that I did before this. But I think 16 days after our first date, I started a journal, and the first entry was to Monica of how I knew I was going to marry her. And I never said that about anyone in the past. I never had that feeling before, but I had an overwhelming sensation that I was going to marry this woman. Yeah. We hadn't said I love you yet. We weren't. We weren't even officially dating. We were just had gone on some dates and we're getting to know each other. We weren't exclusive, but I knew deep down in my spirit that what was coming. And so it's wild because we still had to go through a lot before we got to that point, but it's almost like the Lord showed me this will happen. Sometimes He shows you the end point and doesn't show you the path to get there. Yeah. And there's always a path that we have to traverse. And so, but it gives you the confidence to know everything's going to be all right. This will happen. But you still have to walk through the fire. Yeah. And we really did. We really walked through the fire together.
Yeah. So Hebrews 13:4 says, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous.
That's true.
Yeah.
And setting boundaries is crucial during the engagement process. Discuss your expectations and establish guidelines that align with your shared values.
Like I said, it's not about creating a list of things not to do.
It's not about do's and don'ts.
Yeah, not about do's and don'ts, but just creating framework that respects everybody's commitment and purity, and that you guys are in this together. And that's going to be how it is, in marriage. You're doing things together and setting boundaries. I talked to Jeremiah about this earlier. Like, that really has to be done in dating before engagement, because actually you writing that was before we were engaged. So making sure that you guys are having boundaries, discussing boundaries before, but especially in engagement, because it is like that next level up.
And you don't want to get to the point where I have an expectation that you're not ready for. Like I was like, I thought when we got engaged that we could just have sex or something crazy like that.
Yeah, we could live together.
Yeah, that's true. Another one. Yeah. Oh, it's okay to live together. We do not recommend living together before you get married. We don't recommend having sex before you get married. I'm not saying that your life is totally ruined if you do those things, but we wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
Your boundaries may look different than your, fiance's boundaries. And so you always want to go to the more conservative boundary. Yeah. So if Jeremiah's good with, I feel like I can make out and stop at that point, but I'm like, oh yeah, no, if I'm going to make out, I'm going to want to do more. We're going to respect not making out,
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, for sure. You have to. Yeah. And that's definitely respecting other people's boundaries, which is something that we teach our kids too. Yeah. That if that person said no, then that means no. And you can't make them do it just because you wanted to. Like with our kids, it could be playing a game. Like, hey, like my brother won't play this game with me. Like, he doesn't want to. I can't make him. Or, if that makes him feel uncomfortable or this or that. So
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
So even if the culture despises you for it, it's better to escape sexual sin than to be conquered by it. It's okay to have difficult conversations. It's part of growing and understanding each other on a deeper level.
Yeah, difficult conversations is how you grow in relationships. And Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So 2 is better than 1, and 3 is even stronger. So remember to date inside community and bring mentors and counselors into your life that will champion you during this waiting process.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that wraps up our episode on engagement and proposals and the decision to wait until marriage. Stay strong as you make those decisions together. That's a really important decision to make, and you're protecting yourself and your future spouse by making that decision. It's tough, but you can do it. We know you can.
Yep. Okay, bye.